Welcome to ISME Insights, the podcast exploring the ideas, people and technology shaping the future of digital and tech-led businesses. Each episode, we dive into topics across digital, data, marketing and technology, alongside real stories from entrepreneurs, founders and leaders building businesses in a fast-changing world. From practical insights and emerging trends to honest conversations about growth, challenges and lessons learned, ISME Insights is about sharing knowledge that helps you think differently and move forward with purpose. I'm Kathy Knight and this is ISME Insights. So I'm really excited for today's episode because I am interviewing one of my old school friends. So today we have on ISME Insights, Olly Kohn. So Olly is a former professional rugby player who also is a co-founder of the award-winning food brand, the Jolly Hog. Olly and his brothers turned a family idea into a household name, building a brand around one clear principle: meat done properly. So from running food stalls at rugby matches to seeing their products stocked in supermarkets across the UK, the Jolly Hog has grown into a purpose-driven company with B Corp certification at its heart. In our conversation today, Olly is going to share the highs and lows of starting a business with his siblings, the lessons that they've learned in building a brand, and why purpose and values have been central to their success. So, whether you're an entrepreneur or a business leader, or you just love a great brand story, this episode is packed with insight and inspiration. So let's get into it. Olly. So I know Olly is foot cold today. So hopefully.
I've got man flu.
Absolutely. Tough. Yeah, really tough. Much more serious than the female version. So Olly, you and your brothers founded the Jolly Hog.
Yes.
You take us back to where that all began.
Firstly, thanks so much for having me on. It's lovely, and we've known each other for a long time. And actually, when I think about our days at Ridings High School, I think my love for sausages started in the canteen there. And this is a true story, and it's just come back, is that I was a pretty chunky kid, right? I still am quite chunky and loved food, but the standard of school dinners, if you remember rightly, was horrific. Oh. And I used to have a tray. As you walked along, I'd have a tray and I did 2 sausage and chips, so 2 plates of sausage and chips. And by the time I had this deal where by the time I got to the till, I'd eaten a plate of chips and put a sausage in my pocket. And then I only had to pay for 1 sausage and chips.
Okay.
So it's just taken me back.
So basically you were stealing then?
Yeah, but it was
portion sizes weren't big enough.
It was because I was big and I just needed to feed it, but there's no excuse. So, sorry, the question was about taking me back to the story, was it?
Take us back. Yeah, when you started Jolly Hog, I kind of know a bit about this from when we've spoken ourselves, but what started it? Why sausages? Why did you go down that route?
It's a good question. So, the potted history is that like me, Max and Josh have always loved food. We're brothers. I'm the eldest out of the 3 of us. And that's kind of always been something that our parents have always been very passionate about, not necessarily about the standard of food, but making sure that we sat down and we ate round a table together. And I feel that's kind of shaped a lot of how we think about food, sharing, occasions, family, talking around a table, all these things that are like super relevant now I've got kids. And that was kind of like the early years. And we used to go to a caravan site in Devon, in Exmouth, and there was a local butcher. And one of the highlights we used to do 6 weeks, the whole summer holidays down at this campsite. And one of the highlights was this butcher down the road in Exmouth that did these incredible sausages. And we just loved them. So that was probably like very early days. And then the way it started was I was a professional rugby player. I was very fortunate to do that. I went to Harlequins. And in that time, I was kind of realizing that I needed to have something that was outside of professional sport that was ready to go, because you never know when rugby is going to finish. So you never
Absolutely.
know if you're going to get a long-term injury.
Mhm.
And I was never going to be like high profile enough to cash in. And so,
Yeah.
um, and it was amazing, but I kind of knew that in the back of my mind, I needed to get my act together. And I always say it, but like with professional sport, you get quite a lot of time to recover. And there was lots of lads playing Call of Duty. And there's only so many coffees you can drink when you're trying to rest your legs. And I spent my time trying to upskill myself in food and understand different areas of food, whether it be, I did a day working Gordon Ramsay's kitchen, peeling tomatoes for gazpacho soup for 12 hours. I realized that, Michelin star dining isn't for me. So I did quite a lot of that. And then my wife bought me a sausage making machine, which was
All
this
right.
moment, which
Yeah.
is kind of like a pivotal moment
Yeah.
in 2007 for my birthday. And I had a long term injury. So I was out with an ACL, ruptured ACL for a
Yeah.
year. And I just started making sausages at home. And it was a tiny attachment, a Kenwood Chef attachment, or KitchenAid, can't remember. And it ground the meat and pushed through and it filled the casing. And from that, I kind of like just loved it. Like I had this
Yeah.
thing where I was like, how do I make the very best tasting, like eating sausage we can do, and started curing bacon. And this was from like a one bed flat in Twickenham, and learned through YouTube.
Right.
And so those were like the really early days. And then my brother Josh, who is literally there behind me.
Yeah.
So the reason we're called Jolly Hog is he came up with the name actually. You mix Josh and Ollie, you get Jolly. And then my other brother, who's just conveniently over my shoulder here, is called Max. And he didn't make the cut in the name. And he's annoyed about it. And and so it was really, about making the very, very best. We all had jobs.
Yeah.
I was a rugby player, Max was a shipping broker, and Josh was a cabinet maker. And the early days were really just about trying to make the best sausages we could, um, sell them at various different places, which sounds weird, as in like farmers markets. We had a pitch at Twickenham in the car park at Harlequins where I was playing. We would go and do private events, hog roasts, everything. The early days were just rough and ready. We were just learning how to grow a business, and we didn't know where we were going, but we knew we wanted to grow it, and we also knew that we loved it. And
Yeah.
the end game was just to make the best sausages we could and try and sell them. And I think me and Josh put 500 quid in
Wow.
each,
Impressive.
bought a nice barbecue, and Dad lent us his van, and then we grew from there. Basically, yeah, that was the early days.
Did you think at that stage then, did you have like a clear plan of, right, we're going to scale this and grow this? Or did that just sort of evolve as time went on?
We definitely didn't have a plan.
No.
It was very much just, this is really good fun. We've got a pitch at Glastonbury. Let's go and do it. We've got a place at this private event. Let's go and do it. And anything we could do that meant that we were making sausages and selling them, we would go and do. And some of them
Right.
were good and some of them were bad. We definitely didn't have a plan to be a retail brand, own a restaurant, and 17 years later be where we are today. But I feel like the fundamentals of the business are still the same, in the fact that we want to make great products in the
Yeah.
right way, share them with people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I still feel like that, sat here at Hog HQ now, the business is so different to where it was, but it still feels the same. And it also, there's an element of, even though we've been going for a long time now, is it still feels like a startup because it's evolving every week. Um, but to answer your question, we didn't have a plan. We do have
No.
a plan now,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
moving
Yeah. I'd
forward.
hope you have a
But
plan now. But
yeah, yeah, yeah. But then no, it was just kind of let's do everything we can.
yeah, I mean, you've got quite a sizable team. I mean, I've been up to Hog HQ in Bristol,
Yeah,
and yeah, I mean, you always seem to kind of be growing, and obviously you've got the restaurant business, you've got do you outsource? I think the actual production, or is that all?
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So when starting a business with siblings, anyone that's been involved in any kind of family business or even just working with friends, that can be tricky. Um, did you sort of really clearly define your roles early on? I mean, I'm guessing before you had a plan, probably not. But then as you started to think, actually, this is something we could say we have as a business here, was that something that was important to you, or has it just sort of kind of been more trial and error?
Again, at the start, we didn't have a plan, and it was very much everyone would get involved in everything, whether it be loading vans, whether it be making sausages, whether it be website inquiries. And then I guess over time, like me, Max, and Josh, we have got different skill sets.
Yeah.
We're still a relatively small team, so we do get involved in everything. But yeah, we kind of split out who's best at doing what. And Josh is very operational, man on the ground, running events, helping out with the restaurant. That's kind of his bread and butter.
Mhm.
And then, but like, I guess the overall, we're different skill sets, but completely aligned in terms of values and where we're going and ambition and drive. So that's one thing that I feel incredibly lucky to have within our business is, and probably unique from speaking to others, that we're three brothers. We get on. Most importantly, family is more important than work in the business. So that's always like number one.
Mhm.
We've had a few Barneys along the way, nothing we can't sort out and nothing that's not sorted out within 24 hours. But we're kind of completely aligned in terms of where we want to go and the quality of what we want to do.
Yeah. And are your parents kind of involved in the business as well? Have they been involved?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very much, very, very much so. So early days, mum was a bookkeeper for us,
Oh, okay.
which
Yeah.
must have been an absolute nightmare. Carnage trying to do that.
Where are your
Um,
receipts?
Yeah, and all the way through, they've been part of the business all the way through to now. Dad works for us, does deliveries. He's great. So I think, from washing equipment in their garden to helping out on various kiosks and stalls and events, they've kind of been all the way through. And then Dad, yeah, as I say, Dad's still with us. So fortunate to have them. I mean, our first office was in Dad's office.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, very much
I bet
ingrained
they
in it.
I bet they love it though. I mean, to see like your three sons all in a business
Mm.
together, working together, and then, and your dad particularly being involved, that's got to be a bit of a dream, really, hasn't it, for a lot of people?
Yeah, I think so. Like, I think well, I've got three kids now, and I start to get, I can get quite cheesy about it and emotional about it. But I think with like, as I say, we're kind of aligned, and I think mum and dad will look back, and we call them the founders of the founders. And there's times where you're like, oh God, working with your family can be tricky, but I wouldn't change it for the world. Like that's been part of our superpower.
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel very lucky, as I say,
Yeah.
lucky that it works.
And I guess if you've come from the same family as well, you touched on values. You've kind of all had the same upbringing and had the same sort of values instilled in you. Whereas sometimes in business, if you've got two founders, you could kind of be on different pages with that, but
Yeah,
you've got different kind of life stories. And although you're three brothers, you still
yeah,
absolutely do. You've still got that kind of grounding that you all started with in life that your parents would have very much kind of ingrained in all of you, I guess.
yeah. And I feel like because we started it from nothing really, and
Mhm.
we've still got a long way to go, but because we started it from nothing and we got to where we are, I feel like there's having them, and we've got an amazing team at Hog HQ who are brilliant as well. But I always know that if the shit hits the fan, that one of them can step in and help, and we've always got each other's backs. Again, it sounds cheesy, but it's an incredible thing to have in business because, as you know, like it's a roller coaster, and from nowhere something can happen. You
Yeah.
can forecast something in a year coming up, and you think you've got this plan and it's absolutely nailed on, and then something just goes in, and
Yeah.
you're just like, and actually having good people around you that can ride those things. Me, Max, and Josh, some of our favourite times as brothers are sat round over a coffee or a beer talking about some of the things that haven't gone so well and laughing about them because you've got to. And it's a roller coaster.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So you came into food after your career in professional rugby, which you've already sort of touched upon. Um, what skills did you find were really
Mm.
useful that you'd perhaps learn, by being in that kind of team
Yeah.
environment in your rugby career? What
Yeah.
kind of,
I think,
transferable?
well, when I look back at it, like there's loads to answer.
Yeah,
There's loads, and it's difficult when you're in professional rugby. That environment, you don't quite realise what you're picking up, and then it's not until you leave and you reflect on it and you go, "Wow, that was amazing to
yeah,
be a professional sportsman for 14 years and get paid to do something that you love doing." And with a group that are super ambitious, talented, brutal at times, and go and win stuff was an amazing thing and a grounding for anyone. And then if I think about how it teed me up and the things that I learn, it definitely teaches you to be robust, because
yeah.
one of the things that in pro rugby is there is just nowhere to hide. Like, you could be playing in front of 80,000 people live on TV, miss a tackle, then miss another one, do something else, and then on Monday morning that's reviewed in a video review in front of everyone. You then might lose your place, um, and you have to be robust in that environment. Like,
Mm,
if you don't survive. So, and it's the same for business. It's the same for the retail environment we're in. So that definitely gave me a grounding. I think deep down, like, love being competitive, and that was, in there. But I think one of the things it gave me and us as a business, and Max and Josh as well, is there's been loads of times where it's felt extremely uncomfortable in our
right.
business.
Okay.
Loads.
Yeah,
And people will look at it now and go, it's a success story. But there's been so many times where it's felt so uncomfortable, and it still can. But what rugby sort of taught me is that actually you've got to keep getting up, keep doing it,
that
keep
was,
to the
isn't it?
discipline of doing it. And I know lots of people use the word failure and things like that. I'm not going to do that, but I feel like there's loads of that that taught me that being uncomfortable isn't a bad thing in situations, and you've got to ride it and go for it. So, um, and the other thing I think it really instilled in me was having a really strong culture and team.
Yeah.
Because when we were super successful at Harlequins and we won some trophies, a lot of that was down to the culture that was driven within the squad of players, and that was driven from within. And we had
Okay.
a great leadership group and a great group of lads, that were on the same page and were completely aligned, and being able to take that into the Jolly Hog in a different way,
Yeah.
maybe in a less aggressive way, but like in the same, in lots of ways, has helped us shape where we're going, and also getting great people
Yeah.
on the same page. So those are the main things. Sorry, I've rambled on a little bit, but I think there's so
Yeah.
many things that you take over. The other thing I feel like it instilled in us as a business is like quality. So making sure if you want to be excellent at something, you've got to work really hard, and you've got to think about all the detail on the rugby pitch
Hmm.
before and after training. And that's kind of, I feel like it's flowed into us, and quality is a big word within our business.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, the culture one was one that came into my head as I was asking you that question, actually, because I think the whole kind of team culture thing, I see that you've kind of created something as an outsider looking in,
Mm.
something quite special, and you're very good at doing, you have cooking days, don't you, where like
Yeah.
people cook lunch and stuff like that. And I mean, obviously you're taking the love of food that's, core obviously to the business, but also bringing people together in an organization, which is so important for the success of any business.
Massively. Like, I think, like, so we're extremely proud to be a B Corp.
Yeah.
And that's given us a framework to be a better business. And I know
Yeah.
you know lots about B Corp, but I think, well, we've recently got been reaccredited, and we went from 81 points to 98.9 points last week.
It's amazing.
Um, and I'm so proud of that. And some
Yeah.
of that is, a big chunk of that is how we treat people within the business, how we look after people. I'm not saying we're perfect, because we're not. but I feel like creating an environment where people can thrive, and whether it's the small things of, team lunch. So team lunch is massive for us. Everyone sits down on a Monday at Hog HQ for half an hour, 40 minutes. Two people each week cook for the rest of the 20, which is quite a big task
Yeah,
and big
absolutely.
commitment and
Mm.
scary for some people.
Yeah, just joined and you're giving
Yeah,
sure
yeah,
ease
yeah,
people
yeah.
in before they get thrown into that. But
The other bit that adds another layer of pressure is that we score that lunch as well, which is great and has been really good fun, because at Christmas party you get top lunch, you get worse lunch, and the scoring system's just really funny. But it means that people do put big effort in. And the main reason we do it is it means that every Monday we know that there is a point where everyone can sit down. You don't have to talk about work, but you can check in with each other around a table.
yeah.
And it's a leveler. And it also means the standard of lunch on a Monday is great, so everyone's happy and it gets everyone off to a good start. It has to include Jolly Hog products, though.
Right.
So
Okay. Yeah.
that's the criteria.
It's very. I was listening to a talk this week about a company that helps different brands with culture and stuff like that, and it was actually, they were talking about Lego, and how they've introduced this sort of campfire kind of, and I think it's like a leadership playground where everyone can get an opportunity to be a leader, but that's almost a kind of version of that, and it
Yeah,
feels like to me that initial idea is almost stemmed from your childhood of your parents saying it's really
yeah,
important that we all come together around the table and have time as a family, and you've now taken that kind of coming together over food and a meal to bring the team together around almost that kind of campfire kind of thing, to kind of make sure that you do all stop and have that time, because it's really easy for people, particularly in business. You've got lots of people working remotely, not in the office all the time. I think that is so critical for a business to create a culture where people do come together.
Yeah, and I think as you scale up and you grow the team, it becomes even more important, because it's quite easy to go, Anna, we'll just eat a sandwich at the desk.
Yeah.
And we do that,
Hmm.
but not on a Monday, and we make sure that it's really important. The other bit was, I forgot to mention that the scoring got so brutal that we had to launch a Be Kind campaign, because people were getting too competitive. But there's been some great lunches, some epic lunches, and some epic fails, which has also created a lot of joy.
Yeah, amazing. I love that. Was there a single sort of light bulb moment when you realised, right, this could be more than just a side project? What was that point when you suddenly thought, we're going to get serious about this?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think there's been like some big pivotal points. One was when, um, randomly, I met Michel Roux Jr. Some of the boys were like, "You should send him some sausages." The week after, I took him in. I think Josh made some sausages. I took them into Le Gavroche, which was like a 2 Michelin star restaurant in London. Dropped them in, and then the next day it was GMTV. I think, yeah, he was on GMTV, and then he got interviewed, and it basically, Josh called me and was like, "You need to switch on the TV." And Michel was there and was asked the question, "What's his favourite sausage?" And he said the Jolly Hog. And at the time, I think my mobile number was on the website, and it just went off the hook, and everyone's trying to order sausages, and we weren't really set up for it. And at that point, we were like, "Oh, this is pretty cool. Like, we've got something here that that could have some legs and that people might like." That was one. And then there was a really tough period during COVID where, as you know, like hospitality closed down on the first lockdown in 2020, and we had a couple of restaurants and an events business which was sizable at the time, and a relatively small retail business in comparison to what we've got now. And at that time, mealtime occasions went through the roof at home.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then no one was going to restaurants, pubs, and hotels. So we saw both sides of it. And we were fortunate to have a retail business. And sausages and bacon weren't too far behind gin and tonics, beers, toilet roll, pasta. And people were starting to work at home. And so, as I say, we saw the dark side of it.
Yeah.
And it was really tough on one side of our business. And then the upside was the fact that we had a retail business and that people were buying lots of good quality and they wanted to trade up in terms of sausages and bacon because they were at home. So I'd say that was a real pivotal moment. Becoming a B Corp was massive as well.
Before you move on from the COVID bit, you did a lot to help or to give back, I guess, to workers in the NHS at one of the local hospitals in Bristol, didn't you, during that time?
Yeah.
So it's not, it wasn't something I was going to touch on, but you've made me think about it.
Yeah.
Because that was amazing. Some the stuff that you were doing for people on the front line during COVID, I guess.
Yeah, and we were like so fortunate to be able to be in a position to help those, and it kind of all happened organically. There was no real plan, but one of Max's mates, he lives next door to him, is a director at Southmead Hospital, which was one of the biggest in the southwest.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, it was horrendous for everyone involved there.
Yeah,
that's like terrible. And we said, "Is there anything we can do? We've got quite a lot of stock frozen, and we'd like to use it and help." And they were like, "Can you bring down 50 bacon baps?" And we were like, "Yeah." And then that turned into 500 that day. And then we ended up doing 50,000 bacon baps that year. We did it every Friday. And we've actually just booked in, we don't do it every week now. We've the Jolly Good Deeds has evolved into food boxes for people in food poverty locally. But it really changed our mindset into something whereby if we're in a fortunate position to give people food and donate food and get it to the people that need it, because there is loads of it around us, then we should do it. And obviously South is pretty close to our hearts. We were born there. We've had lots of family members come in and out of there, and we've still got a lovely relationship with them. We're going back in a couple of weeks to do, I think, 1,500 pork baps out of our food truck, Miss Piggy. So, yeah, it was amazing. It was one of the best things we've ever done as a business and continues to be brilliant.
That's incredible. That's incredible. You can see that it comes across. So food is a really competitive space. How did you go about creating a brand that stands out in supermarkets and restaurants?
Wow. Okay. That's big.
You need marketing. You need marketing on the...
Yeah. So how do we go about doing it? So we did it the long way.
Right.
We started at street food level.
Mm-hmm.
So we were selling the products that we were making on the streets, at farmers markets, at events, understanding what consumers wanted from that point of view. And then from there, we just started to understand how we could scale this idea and this brand up. And because we're three brothers and it's a unique story, we were like, how do we tell that story? Getting into retail, I should have talked about that as a pivotal point, because getting your first retail listing is like no other feeling in the world.
Who was
insane.
The first? Who was first?
Ocado was the first, and then on the shelf was Sainsbury's.
Right. Yeah.
So those are pivotal moments, which I definitely should have talked about. But doing that bit and learning how to get into retail is like, I mean, I could just spend hours on that.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I'm an expert, but it's kind of like, that's what we've done over the years. And now we're in all of them. It is extremely competitive space, but fundamentally, if you've got a really good product at the right price with a good brand, good pack, and when I say brand, packaging, marketing behind it, then and you've positioned that brand and that packaging in the right place, then you can make it work. And for us, premiumization is everywhere at the moment. People want to upgrade, and we call it the joy of missing out, JOMO. So if you're not going to your local pub or going out for dinner on a Friday night, but you still want a treat, right? You still want a treat when you get home. Buying a nicer sausage or a nicer bacon that's better for your breakfast is that little treat, that little moment. And it might sound small, but like that's the bit that we're sort of targeting. And I don't know if I'll answer your question. It's a competitive base. How have we done it? We've done it organically. We've done it over time, 17 years to get to this point. And we've done it through, I think, really, really good products, good brand, good story, packaging strong, and then being in the right position.
Yeah. Were some of them easier to get into than others? So it was particularly... Yeah, I'm sure. And do you think the B Corp... You can't tell me, no. The B Corp, certification, things like that. Do you think that's helped? I mean, there's some supermarkets that stand out. I guess Co-op's one in particular that I know is a big stocker of kind of those sorts of brands. Has it helped? Did you say or?
Yeah, I think like B Corp's been brilliant for us. And if I was to start all over again, which I'm not going to, if I was to start all over again tomorrow, I would start with B Corp as a framework for a business and how you build a business for the future. I think it's been brilliant for us. We're constantly learning about it. And for us, it's opened our eyes to different ways of thinking, how we impact the environment, how we impact socially. And fundamentally, if it helps you look after people within your business, that's great.
Yeah.
And lots of people don't know what B Corp means in terms of consumer facing, but we don't do it for that. We do it because we are striving to be a better business all the time. And this holds us to account. One of the things that's great is the impact report.
Yeah.
So if you think about when you start a business, actually doing an annual impact report makes total sense, even if it's not huge and there's not loads of detail. If I'd done that 17 years ago, that would have been brilliant for us. And we've been doing it for the last sort of 4 years, I think, 3 years. We're just about to release our next one. And what a great way of tracking like how you impact the environment, how you impact socially, kind of year it's been, how you check in. It holds you to account on all your pledges. It makes total sense. So great guide.
It's a really good, for those that don't know much about, I guess, B Corp, it's a really good structure, particularly in the early days of business when you're talking about, you didn't really have a plan, you didn't, it just sort of evolved organically. I found going through the whole B Corp application process really helped with some of the like governance in the business and some of the stuff that I hadn't really thought of. And like you say, producing that impact report again is another thing where you're having to hold yourself to account. Actually, well, this is how we've, reduced our carbon footprint, and this is how we have managed to improve engagement within our team because we've been doing X, Y, and Z, and this is where we've given back to our community. And actually, sometimes for you as a business, that's a chance to think, gosh, this is how far we've come in that year as well. So because
fundamentally we are just trying to be better. So it gets you to check in, check back, and go, oh, okay, we did that, but how are we going to make that better? And there's just loads of areas we can do that. So I'd encourage other small businesses. I think some people find it scary because there is a lot of detail within it, but I also feel like there's loads of businesses that are doing loads of stuff already, but it's just about being completely transparent about how you're operating. We've got a really nice group in Bristol, sort of food and drink B Corp companies in Bristol. And so we try and meet up and share ideas around it, but I'd encourage everyone to do it.
I was lucky enough to go to one of those events, wasn't I, a couple of years ago when I was first looking at doing B Corp and came along and met some of those food companies. It does seem like you've created that really kind of nice community within your industry where you can collaborate, share ideas around how other people are doing things to try and, because like you said earlier, it's, B Corp isn't about being a perfect business. It's about wanting to learn and do better. And I think every business should be considering that and looking at how they can improve.
I also feel like it, and you know this as well, right? I think it helps with recruitment. So in terms of the people coming into this room and when we're talking to them about why would you like to join the Jolly Hog, it often gets brought up. And I think, it's just definitely been something that we didn't kind of expect, but it's been helpful.
Yeah, no, I can completely agree. That kind of employee value proposition, things like that is really important. And actually, I see more and more people now asking those sorts of questions when I'm talking to them about working for particular companies and right, okay, what are their values and what are, things like B Corp are discussed. And I think certainly younger generations who are more focused around what the purpose is and doing meaningful work will choose those sorts of employers, and whether it's B Corp, whether it's something similar, I think that will be part of their decision-making process. It's part of mine when I recently joined another business, and that was important to me. They were a B Corp already, and it was definitely part of the thought process that I went through. Looking back, Were there any key decisions or turning points that help establish the Jolly Hog as a trusted brand? I'm guessing that's
Over the
see.
years, like key things that, well, I guess like you build up credit as you get into more retailers and people see the brand more. Obviously, becoming a B Corp helped.
Yeah.
2024. So last year we won Sunday Times Best Place to Work, which was
Yeah.
awesome. We were one of them. Sorry,
Yeah.
it wasn't the best place in the world to work.
No,
Um,
but you made it onto the list.
we made it onto the list, which was cool. So I think there's been like lots of things, but like all of that's been earned over a series of small things over 17 years to go, okay, these are a brand that we can trust. And someone said to me very early on in, and like she's a legend in the retail industry, but she said to me very, very early on when we were just selling sausages in the car park, she was like, you guys could be a great brand, but do not shortcut. Do not try and shortcut this, because great brands with longevity are authentic and take time to build. And I think there's a trend for people to try and raise a lot of money at the moment, of other people's money, build a business and a brand really quickly and try and scale it. And we haven't done that. We could have done it quicker and definitely have more hair and less grey hairs. But at the same time, I feel like we can look back and say we've built this over time and that's helped us gain loyalty and trust.
Yeah, and you've kept, true to your values by doing that as well, but by not kind of just trying to race ahead and, just kind of, like you say, scale it at too quick a pace that ends up, you kind of lose the whole essence of the business and the core and perhaps why it started in the first place. What have been some of the biggest hurdles that you faced whilst you have been growing and sort of scaling? Is it like supply chain or convincing supermarkets, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think like obviously getting listings and getting onto shelf is hard. Like it's really difficult to do. But then the other thing that people don't talk about as much is keep them and
I was
perform.
just thinking that it's maintaining it, isn't it?
Maintaining them and staying in and justifying your position and creating incremental value, because fundamentally we have to be creating value in that space for the buyer, in that retailer.
Yeah.
So that's the art of it. Yeah, so I say that, that's one of them. What other challenges have we had? I mean, navigating COVID, but that's the same for everyone.
Yeah.
I'd say that's the main one in terms of listings, making sure that you maintain them and look after them and nurture them. And one thing we're really hot on is trying to make sure that we've got really good relationships with everyone. But there's been a few hiccups along the way.
I guess it's quite complex, isn't it? In the sense of that business has got, different parts to it, in the sense of that you have the restaurant side of the business, and then you've got, your distribution into retail outlets and selling kind of products and stuff like that. Is that challenging? Because they're two very different types of business. I know they've got food at the
No,
core of what you're doing, but very different business.
Yeah, I think people look at it and go, well, why have you got a restaurant? Why have you got events business and a retail brand? Well, for us, like they've all helped each other out and they've all helped and been a big part of building what we've got and will always be, and makes us unique in terms of activating the business. And so in the early days, the events business helped fund us building a retail brand. And now it's kind of flipped round. Our retail business is very much the sort of heartbeat of all of it. And the event stuff is, it helps us market it and get it out in terms of awareness. So I'm a big fan of like having lots of good multiple pots boiling away.
Yeah.
Because you never know if one might go off. And then you need to kind of grow the other one. And I feel like, I know the analogy is legs to the stool, but we've definitely had to do that. And that's helped us survive if you just all in on one thing the whole time.
Absolutely.
It's been fun. It's been good. Like I enjoy different projects, as long as we don't lose focus, and we haven't.
Yeah, amazing. Have there been moments when you and your brothers have maybe disagreed on the direction, and how have you kind of gone about sort of solving that?
We've pretty much, there's not been, which is nuts, there's never been a time where we've really, really disagreed on anything big in terms of strategy or direction of the business.
Yeah.
There might have been if we tried to move faster, but there's just not been, and nothing that we can't thrash out because, again, going back to the rugby stuff, we've always been really honest with each other, and
Mm.
so if you can be honest and give someone feedback and go, look, I don't think this, I think that we could have done it that way, then you can find a way. So there's not really been anything. I think the big things. We opened a second restaurant and ploughed quite a lot of money and emotion and pain into that, and closed it quite quickly. And that was a really difficult decision for us. And when you asked me earlier about hurdles, that was really tricky. And then but we were aligned. We were like, yeah, I get it. Like, we're gonna have to close this one, and we did, and it was the right thing to do, and we did it together, so it was fine.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess it's good that you have got that. I think when you've got, whether it's a co-founders in business or, business, I think that is important. It kind of, when you have got some of those tougher decisions to make, you don't feel that you're carrying the weight of that completely on your own. Yeah. So what advice would you give to other entrepreneurs who are looking to build a brand in food,
Yeah,
especially if they've got limited resources, are bootstrapping it a bit like you were, I
yeah.
guess?
I think if you're young and you're starting from scratch, that the bit around don't take shortcuts.
Yeah.
Make sure that you've got quality running through your business. So when we talk about quality at the Jolly Hog, it isn't just a quality product. I mean, that's the bedrock, making
Yeah.
sure that the actual sausage and the actual piece of bacon is amazing and the best it can be. But we talk about quality of relationships. So whether that's people that are here at Hog HQ, quality of relationships with retailers or food service customers, or quality of decision making, we're kind of on that. That's
Yeah.
really important. But I think if you start off thinking about the quality of the product and what you're doing, that's going to set you up long term. And then my advice is because it's the way we did it, and we didn't go out and get investment, but because we've grown, and we've grown slowly, we kind of learn, and we've made mistakes ourselves, but those are good. Those have really set us up. And I think if you try and scale stuff too quickly, you can see people running out of puff. And so I'm really happy about the pace we've grown.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you went back to kind of day one of Jolly Hog,
Mm.
what would you tell yourself?
Man, that is a really good question. I've never been asked that before. Day one, I would tell myself that it's going to be tricky. You'll be all right. Restaurants are really hard. And that surround yourself with good people really quickly, which we have.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing.
Yeah, yeah. And that community thing, I mean, you touched upon your sort of B Corp community of food companies. I think that is so critical for any kind of business leader, because it does get, tough and it gets lonely. And actually, you don't even need to be in your industry. You can kind of learn from all sorts of people. I've got like a business mastermind peer-to-peer group that I'm part of, and that has been absolutely
Yeah.
for me, because they're all different, different industry. They're not in my industry, but they will challenge me on things, and you need that, I think, sometimes.
I think, that point around network is massive. And when I talked earlier about relationships, building a network is something that people kind of talk about. But when you're doing it and you're active, it's a one sort of big secret weapon that can, as you say, you can bounce ideas around with peers, someone who's going through similar challenges, or you can call upon someone senior, a mentor within your network that can kind of help you navigate a tricky situation. But building a network is a skill within itself.
Yeah.
And it's something that we love at the Jolly Hog.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely value that. And I think sometimes people can look at that as in building a network as like, that's a sales thing, and that kind of sits with,
No.
and it so isn't. Because I
No.
think when you position it in that way, you're getting it all wrong. It's about that kind of, building that trusted community around you that can help you and you can help them. And actually, the more you know, you give, I think the more you get back from people. And I think that's key. So what's next for you and the business? What do you see your biggest sort of opportunities for growth in the future being?
Our biggest opportunity, it sounds boring, is to grow more of what we've got. So our core business of sausage and bacon, there is still loads to go after. So that
Okay.
is like number one, and we'll continue to do that. And then in terms of innovation, we've got quite a few bits in the pipeline for 26, which I can't tell you now,
Yeah, no, that's fair.
but I'd love to. But we've
Yeah.
got some really nice innovation agreed for next year. And so it's to continue to grow the business. We've had a really good run of it.
Mm-hmm.
28% last year, I think. And so we got to go again this year,
Yeah.
and grow again. So more of the same, sausage and bacon, go after it.
Are we gonna be treated to new products? Can you share
Yes.
that? Are we ask what they are, not asking what
No,
they are,
yeah.
but we
Yeah,
can
no, there
expect new
is
things.
that we have to continue to innovate, and we've got a load of new stuff, which is fabulous.
Yeah. Looking forward to seeing that on the shelves, Ollie. Okay, so this is probably my last question. So we've known each other since our days
Yeah.
at Ridings High School, which is now
Yeah.
Winterbourne Academy for anyone in the southwest of the
Yeah.
UK. Do you think those early experiences at school influenced your entrepreneurial mindset?
At the Ridings
I
High
mean, our
School.
parties,
Yeah, yeah. Well,
the
you had some
network.
good house parties, and
I had
then
some good.
we
We
used to
went to a
drink
lot of.
cider in the park, which now, like, I'm just like thinking, what are my kids going to do? Did it
Yeah,
influence it? I just think it goes back to relationships. Like, we were in an era, and I'm going to sound so old now, but like, we
yeah,
didn't have mobile phones, right? So you had to walk to a payphone. If I had to find out when your party was, and I was out and about, I had to walk to a payphone to
yeah,
phone your landline, and your mum would pick up the phone, and so like. I think we learned really strong communicate. I'm not an expert. I
communication.
think we learned communication skills that I worry that our kids aren't necessarily going to get, and that's like my big thing. So like making sure that our kids can talk and communicate
Yeah,
and say hi, and ask questions, and those are the bits for me that probably at the time we didn't know, but we were kind of chucked in, and we also didn't have a plan. So like be like, right, so on Saturday, my kids have got like the whole Saturday mapped out because we do it. But back in the day, Saturday, we just wake up and then we go to the park and mess around with mates. And I love that. And I feel
yeah.
like that's why life was,
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? When you sort of think about it in that way, like we didn't really have, I don't remember having loads of like clubs and stuff that I went to, particularly
no,
once we were at secondary school. And so actually, yeah, your weekends were kind of your own, whereas my kids have got
yeah,
pretty much stuff going on all the
yeah,
time. And I mean, my mum will say to me, you just need to say no to some of these things because you're
yeah,
just here, there, and everywhere. But then it wasn't that the clubs and stuff weren't available. But the communication thing, I think, is such an important one because I tried, if we're, I don't know, in a restaurant or something, I'll say to my kids, well, you ask them for, you tell them what you want and you
yeah,
do, because I
yeah,
just think there's not enough of that. I was
yeah, yeah,
speaking to somebody the other day about, if you fancied somebody at school and you wanted to kind of
yeah,
have to pick up the phone, speak to their parent, be asked to be put through,
yeah,
like that's like massive. You've got to have a lot of confidence and be quite brave to do that.
yeah,
And we had
yeah,
to do that. So
yeah,
I think that did put us in a much different position. So I do think it's really, really important that we find ways for our children to be pushed out of their comfort zones in the same way you talked earlier, didn't you, about, coming out of your comfort zone is something that's really important in business as well, but
100%.
they teach it when they're young as well. So
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree.
yeah, I'm sure anyone that listens to this that went to school with us will remember those parties in the park or house. In fact, I remember
Yeah.
you having a fancy dress
Yeah, I did actually.
house
Yeah.
party once at your mum and dad's house.
Yeah. I was like that big kid that was able to go to the shop and slide the like coins across and get booze for everyone else.
And I was in our group as well. I was the female, so
Yeah.
I always looked older.
Yeah.
Yeah, terrible.
So, great times.
It was before you needed like photo ID. I mean, we were
Yeah.
kind of, yeah. And we're talking about illegal stuff here now, and that probably shouldn't feature on a podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It was real life.
It was.
Oh, that has been absolutely amazing, Ollie. An absolute pleasure to interview you. One final question. What inspires you and keeps you motivated?
That's really good. What keeps me motivated is I'm very fortunate. I've got an amazing family and I want to set them up and the team here. So that's what motivates me to keep doing it. I think, yeah, my family, I think that's the main thing for me.
Yeah, I think that's true of a lot of us. Thank you so much for giving up your time, particularly when you're not feeling well. Wishing you a speedy recovery. And thank you for your time.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been great to chat.
You're welcome. Thanks for listening to this episode of ISME Insights. If you enjoyed the conversation, make sure to follow or subscribe so you don't miss future episodes covering digital innovation, technology, and the stories behind the people building modern businesses. You can also find me on LinkedIn, where I share updates, insights, and highlights from the podcast. Until next time, thanks for listening to ISME Insights.